Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Timeless, Season 1, Episodes 4 and 5, because we had to skip last week due to scheduling and other reasons and more TV than usual.
Blame Netflix.
Blame Netflix. But yeah, so we're talking about Episode 4, which is Party at Castle Varlar, and we're talking about Episode 5, which is the Alamo, and that is the new one that aired just last night. So, we'll tackle them in order, obviously. I don't see any reason to do it any other way. So, episode 4 was going back to, during World War Two, time of the Nazis. Flynn's back. They suspect that he's trying to give the Nazis a nuclear bomb, or sorry, an atom bomb, before the West gets one. And so that's kind of the plot, and they go back and they run into Ian Fleming, who is an undercover British agent in Nazi Germany at the time. And
It's pretty fun.
it was not bad fun. It was not bad fun.
Hmm.
I enjoyed it more than episode 3. I think it was definitely a step up from that. Uh, Obviously, a big part of this one was dealing with Lucy's like fear of like sort of her nervousness of going in undercover and actually doing like a part of the mission and
Hmm.
pretending to be a Nazi.
Yeah, that stuff I didn't feel it was as strong.
What did you like then?
Just I thought it was fun again. Like at three, I feel like suffered from not having a big event to focus on. Whereas this one, we were back. We had something. We had a clear objective, and it had fun with the tropes of that there.
Do you know what I think worked a little bit more with this one, and even more with episode 5 actually? I felt like the team themselves was in a bit more peril, a bit more danger than
Mm.
the first couple, where it felt like, no, I mean, Lincoln's in danger, you know, the Zeppelin's in danger, but,
Not
they
worried about the team.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're not in so much danger. And well, don't get me wrong, we know that they're fairly safe anyway because it's their TV show, and you know,
Mm.
if it's not a season finale, I highly doubt that any of them is going to be killed off. So obviously, you don't actually worry about them, but just in the sense that it feels like they are in proper peril, well, they are fearing for their lives a bit more, and they are in jeopardy. The Ian Fleming stuff was okay. I'm not a huge James Bond fan,
I had a
so
lot of fun with it.
I wasn't particularly fussed about it. I had a chuckle about a few of the things, mainly them coming back to the present day, and there been a new story based on their adventure
Hey,
with him.
I want to be in that timeline. I want another Sean Connery film.
Eh, I'm good.
See, but and then there was the stuff like like the priest holes, and he was like, "Oh, it was in Skyfall." Crack
Yeah,
me up.
yeah. Yeah, I thought this was back to being a fun romp. I'd put this a bit on par with like episode 2. I will say, obviously, the big thing is really at the end. We get a bit more of the Rittenhouse menace because they actually show up
Mm.
and threaten Rufus and his family and say, no, 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 you're going to keep doing these recordings because if you don't, you know, uh, you wouldn't want your family not to be safe. So
Yeah, exactly.
we had that whole thing at the end. So that was a bit of advancement in that sense. And it turned out that the reason why Flynn actually wanted the core to the nuke was actually to fuel the time machine, and indefinitely, essentially. I mean, what did they say? 30 years, like
I thought you said 300 years.
300. Well, yeah, even more indefinite then.
Uh,
Longer than he'll need it.
you'd assume so. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, even with time travel, he's still aging,
yeah, that's true.
so he's a goner at some point. Um, if I have complaints about the episode, I would probably go with a couple of things. One, I felt like when they came back to the present, there should have been more things that changed in this episode because they killed a lot of Nazis.
They did. It's almost like they said. Well, I mean, I guess you could argue that all those Nazis would have, or the majority of them would have died in battle anyway.
Sure, sure.
So you could say, oh, most of those died a week later in the original timeline. So how much impact would really have been changed?
Yeah, but then if they're not in that battle to be killed by whatever Allied forces kill them, maybe their attention's elsewhere that leads to a different outcome or leads to a different course of battle. Like,
Yeah.
because they straight up kill like several Nazis, like at least 4 or 5, and I was like, this is this could be altering the timeline quite a bit here. All these German deaths.
Mm. No, I agree with that.
Yeah. Obviously, a big part of the episode as well was Rufus's guilt about spying on them, because he talks to Ian Fleming, he talks to Von Braun,
So yeah.
yeah, the guy responsible for the rockets. And asked him if he felt guilty about what he'd done, and he was obviously dealing with a lot of that. And I liked that they were exploring things like that. They were starting to actually explore how these people are feeling about what they're doing, and that's good. And of course, actually, my favourite thing actually about the episode is the. Actually, no, this is the next one. Sorry, they're merging in my head. They're merging in my head. Yeah, I'm confusing them in my head. But yeah, my other complaint though is when they do come back and they say, wait, okay, so Flynn wasn't selling a nuke to the Nazis. Wait a minute, there was something that Arthur always talked about doing, but that was always theoretical. They wouldn't have thought of this before. It just felt like, oh, we thought it at the end of the episode so we can cut to him doing that thing. It felt a bit.
I feel like it would have worked better if they didn't know, and it cut to it for us anyway, and showed us that's why it used the nuke for, and that would have been fine.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So a couple of complaints. I did like a couple of things that cropped up though. I liked it when they landed in the 40s or whatever time period it was. That when the time ship opened, there was someone just standing there. I liked that because it's something that we kind of thought of. It was like, well, they're always landing this ship, but they're finding good locations for it. It was something that kind of had to happen at some point. So I'm glad that they've done it, and they can do it every so often where they almost land on top of someone.
Oh man, I really hope someone gets crushed.
Maybe that seems a bit dark. I don't know if this show would do that.
I mean, maybe not. That's a point though. Can it crush them? Because it just kind of appears. It doesn't like fall down or.
If anything, it would just eviscerate them. Like they just like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they would appear inside the ship, but their legs would be cut off because they'd be going through the floor.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. I think we might be asking a little bit too much here, though.
Yeah. This is maybe it's more in the black humor territory than it is what this show actually tries to do. Dear. So got to episode 5, which is the Alamo, this is kind of where, this is like the first historical thing they've done where I really didn't know a whole lot about it.
Right. Okay.
Like I've heard of it. I've heard of the Alamo, but I couldn't have told you what it was.
Right.
Were you familiar with it?
More than you. Probably not as much as many Americans, but
yeah. Obviously you get everything from context. The idea that they're in this one location, they get slaughtered by the Mexican army, but I didn't know anything about it. And then the two historical figures we run into, Crockett and Bowie, like, okay, I've heard those names, but again, I couldn't have told you who they were or what they'd done. So. That's it. This is the one that played with Wyatt and him being asked to leave, getting fired because he's not killed Flynn yet, and also him dealing with his sort of soldier's guilt of the mission that he kind of lost a lot of people on because he was the one chosen to sort of take the message away, take the intel out, while still held off the enemy. And I thought actually that was done quite well. I liked the sort of the flashes to the soldiers being there, like the present, because the first time it happened it was kind of trippy. It was like, whoa, wait, what?
Yeah.
What's with these present day soldiers? But
no, it was a bit jarring at first.
But I liked that. And I think this might be my favourite episode of the show so far, episode 5.
Okay, I thought it was actually really well directed.
Yeah, it was well directed. In fact, I think both this episode and episode 4 both had a little bit better in terms of music. I thought the score was just a little bit more on point at certain times. Because I really felt the helplessness of this location and the fact that it's impending doom, and the fact that, again, like I say, the team really felt like they were in danger here. Like, that this is happening sooner than it's meant to, and it's ticking down. And again, it's their TV show. I know they're going to survive somehow. But it felt more helpless.
That, but I was almost wondering if they'd actually kill off Wyatt and just have him replaced and be like a swerve thing where it's like, oh no, you thought he was the main character, but
Nah,
Ah,
I was kind of expecting exactly what they did, and what I mean by that is the other two sticking up for him, and
oh
that,
yeah,
and I
it
like
was
that.
expected, but
But
it was the sort of thing where I could have seen them killing him just to have like a big moment.
not on this show, no. That's my stance. Not in this show.
Yeah.
Not at this point. Maybe in a season finale. Maybe in a season 2 or something. But it doesn't feel like a Doyle, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But no, I like that them sticking up because it actually feels like they're bonding now. I feel like I'm starting to kind of care about them, where I don't think I did for the first 4.
Yeah, before it was just kind of, oh, let's see what fun adventure it was this time. And
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, okay, there's actually some characters as well.
And even like in the last episode, Wyatt like getting a little bit jealous of Ian Fleming hitting on Lucy,
Hmm.
just little things like that. And then this one, them proper sticking up for them and being a team. I'm kind of expecting Rufus to like come clean with them and like tell them about the recordings, but like obviously not record that part.
It'll be that, or they'll stumble across it and they'll have the drama of that.
I'd rather they just own up to it.
I'd rather that, but I'm not sure I trust network TV to do that.
Yeah.
It's such an easy, like, let's have some drama point by them finding it out themselves.
Sure, sure. I hope it's not as whatever, but yeah. So Rufus, of course, goes to Mason about the whole Rittenhouse thing, and Mason seems like he's just as scared of them. Like he's not one of the evil guys necessarily. He seems like he's
Well, it
scared of
was
them.
even at the end of the last one where he was talking to Rufus, he said he's in too deep with them.
Yeah, 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 yeah. They ended it at the end, but I feel like in this one even more so with just
Hmm.
you know just the way they spoke after that was very. It was almost like he was protecting Rufus and keeping him
Yeah.
sort of away from them, but now it's like
Yeah, because he says, "Oh, they weren't supposed to contact you
yeah,
directly." And, yeah,
yeah. Um, I will say that the conversation at the start of the episode where Lucy's talking to her mother and she said, "Oh, you won't even tell me my real father's name." My mind instantly went, "Right, okay, it's time travel." 99.9% chance it's Flynn.
yeah,
Um, my only I actually thought they were going to reveal it at the end because she gives her the bit of paper with his name on it, and I actually think it's a really weird thing if it is Flynn that they didn't end the episode with the paper
yeah.
opening up and it's saying Flynn, or the full name, because why would she just call him Flynn? But
Yeah.
I was expecting that to be the end of the episode, and I liked the ending of the episode. I liked the sort of the heartwarming. Okay, we're a team now. Wyatt cares about them. Good stuff. But it felt strange that they didn't reveal that at the end.
Do you know what I find weird about this whole her asking about her dad thing?
Mm.
So obviously, this is only in this new timeline that she even knows that it wasn't. But in this timeline, she never had a dad that she thought was her dad her whole life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So has she never asked about this before? Like her mum's like makes it seem like they've never spoken about this really. And you'd think if you didn't have a dad your whole life, you'd kind of want to know. You'd have been asked at some point, like in your teenage years maybe.
Yeah, I kind of get it to a point. Like, I can buy that maybe she was curious as a teenager, but her mother told her to let it go, and she let it go, and it's been
Mm,
quiet for 10 years or whatever, 15 years, and now she's like every time tell me who he is, because obviously we know that she cares now because she just found out
yeah,
from her perspective. So now she's not letting it go. But it was funny because I don't think we ever spoke or speculated about who her father might be, because it was never presented as who is he? It was just, she had a different dad. It didn't really mean anything other than the direct impact on her of finding out she had a different parent. But it was when she said the line, "You won't even tell me who he is." I'm like, all right, okay, it's someone. It's
yeah,
plot twist time.
yeah. It's like if it's not Flynn, it'll be someone that she goes back in time and meets anyway.
Yeah, it could
Because she
be.
wouldn't need to go back that far, but
It could be that. I I can see it being the way Flynn speaks to her though, as if he really wants her to trust him.
mm,
sort of add up to it, you know. But at the same time, it does feel so super obvious that
That's the thing. It is the most obvious answer, but
Wyatt. It's Wyatt.
Yeah, that's totally it.
That would throw everything, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
Oh god. Especially if she reads the name and then he goes in for a kiss next episode.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Some Marty McFly style nonsense, yeah.
Well, that's the thing with time travel. It could easily be.
They could, yeah. But that's kind of the thing, though, because we're talking about time travel. I'm expecting anyone. You know, it could be literally anyone. So, well, a man. It could be any man.
Way to narrow it down to, 50% of the population in the history of the Earth.
Well, I assume it's someone from at least present day, or the future. It can't be someone from the past. Well, actually, I suppose it could be. I'm assuming the time travel is involved with the father. But the father's a time
Yeah.
Mark my words.
That seems the likely thing. It really does.
I've seen the Terminator. I know how these things work.
Yeah, and this show is not exactly the most original thing.
No. One last point though before we move on. Obviously, we're still deeply curious about Rittenhouse and how this is all going to turn out to be for the greater good that Flynn, what Flynn's doing, because it seems like he's trying to make everything worse, and at the same time, it's like I'm still positive it's going to turn out that it is for the greater good. I just don't know how that's going to happen. But there is a hint of it in this one. Because the general or the commander of the army decides that he's not going to let the women and children go, and Flynn goes in and like demands that he let them go. Like I think it's the first time I've properly seen him try and do something good. Like he's so usually just like mustache twirling villain,
Yeah, it's making a point of showing he's not morally evil. He's not, killing anyone for the sake of it. He clearly has a very specific plan that he believes is right.
Even in episode 4 when he spoke to Lucy, he mentioned not being able to sleep at night. Like that he's doing these horrible things, but it's got a purpose. There's a bigger picture, which is a theme actually in the last couple of episodes. This talk of a bigger picture. Lucy keeps bringing it up because Wyatt keeps wanting to kill Nazis, and
I feel like there's only a matter of time before we see some really big consequences.
Yeah, there has to be at some point. A new James Bond movie that never existed before does not qualify as major consequence.
No, it's not a major consequence, but it is like a very, very good bonus.
That said, I did laugh really hard at Rufus saying, I bet James Bond sleeps with Lucy in that one. Thought that was good. But, nah, so that's the two episodes. One thing I do want to mention before we wrap up, though, is how we've commented how this is very similar to DC's Legends of Tomorrow. I want to point out that last week's episode with Nazis was the same week as Legends of Tomorrow's episode with Nazis.
Yeah.
And this week's Legends is set during the Civil War, and episode 2 of this was Lincoln and the end of the Civil War. I just think it's really funny because we have these two time travel shows that they're often either hitting the same time periods in the same week or, a few weeks out. I feel like I'm visiting the same parts of history between the two shows.
Yeah, it's true. It's very noticeable, really, especially when they're pulling like similar jokes, with the atom bomb thing.
Yeah, that was the exact same joke in both shows. That was really weird.
Yeah, and it is making me compare them more and more, even though not intentionally. I just can't help it.
Yeah, I think as this one goes on, though, we'll see its strengths come out because to Timeless's credit, it's not sunk as low as Legends did in season 1, not by a long shot. So
no, definitely not. And like I said, 3 was a bit of a dip, but 4 and 5 were better again.
Yeah. I legitimately think 5 might be the best episode of the show.
And there's something I noticed in 5, like obviously I think it was 2. Where they were shooting at the guy in the window, and we were saying, that scene that it didn't look very good. They'd clearly done it on the cheap.
Yeah.
Whereas this being where they all stormed through the gate and stuff, I thought that looked really good.
Yeah.
So
I still feel like this feels very much like a TV show.
Oh, sure.
Not to knock it, whereas, you were watching other things that are kind of going above and beyond, and even last night's Supergirl, like, which I thought was an episode where it was kind of cheaper. It still started with this amazing shot of like asteroids hitting like this planet in space, and it looked pretty good on the TV scale, and it felt quite cinematic. Whereas this, I feel like still feels like a TV show, which
Oh, absolutely.
which isn't even necessarily a knock. I don't mind that. Like, there's room in my life for some TV shows that look like TV shows. But it does make it feel a bit more kind of old school, I
Yeah.
almost wish this had a opening title sequence where we see their faces as their names come up.
Yeah, it's very like 90s sort of thing, isn't it?
I kind of miss that, actually, to be honest. I feel like all the superhero shows we watch should have that.
Yeah, we've got way too into just title cards.
Yeah, I'm kind of sick of it. I miss a good, 50 seconds, music playing,
Mm.
face by face.
Yeah,
It's a
oh, I
lost,
do like that.
it's a lost art form.
Yeah.
So you have to rely on YouTube people making their fan made ones. But anyway, guys, that's Timeless episodes 4 and 5. Let us know what you thought of both the episodes. Thoughts and theories. No doubt we've missed some hints in the background that you want to tell us about. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out if you do. Thanks for watching, guys. We will be back next time.